Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we are cracking open the source material on something really significant happening in China. We're talking about that major Starbucks transaction.
Yeah, and it's huge. This isn't just, a financial footnote. It feels like a real turning point for how Western brands have to operate there now.
Right. It's about more than just ownership changing hands. It's about how an icon like Starbucks tries to stay relevant, keep its identity, and, frankly, survive in maybe the toughest retail market on the planet.
Exactly. Our mission today is really to get under the hood of this deal. What's the strategy? What does it tell us about the bigger picture for global brands in Asia? Because let's be clear, the old idea that foreign monks chanted better scriptures, that Western brands were automatically seen as superior, that's pretty much over.
It definitely feels that way.
To compete now, especially against these super fast local players, you absolutely need strong local partners who are deeply plugged in. So we're diving into why Starbucks did this, what they tried before the deal, their sort of self-rescue, and how this whole thing fits with what giants like KFC and McDonald's did years ago.
Okay, let's pin down the basics first. The headline news. Starbucks sold 60% of his China business equity. Big chunk. The buyer, a major local private equity firm, Boyu Capital.
Yep. But crucially, Starbucks kept 40% equity. And maybe even more important, they kept full control over the brand itself, the IP. So it's a new kind of structure, a joint venture, where the local partner has the majority stake, designed really to fuel growth.
And there's a key financial point here you highlighted from the sources.
Right. You have to understand this. While that 60% stake sale brought in roughly $4 billion, according to the reports, Starbucks' own internal estimates, they suggest the total value of their China retail business, if you add the equity they kept, the cash they got, plus future licensing fees, is actually north of $13 billion.
Wow, okay, so this isn't them retreating at all.
Not even close. China is still their second biggest market globally. This is a massive strategic pivot designed to win, not to leave.
Got it. Okay, so let's dig into the why.
Okay.
Why this radical change now? They've been in China for, 26 years? They basically introduced high-end coffee culture. For ages, Starbucks had this incredible status, this, aspirational glow. But the sources are saying the glow is fading fast.
Yeah, it is. And that traditional third space model, the comfy chairs, the quiet spot to meet or work, usually in those prime shopping mall locations, it's showing its age.
It feels less essential now.
Exactly. It's not just that people are bored with it. The whole way people consume things has changed dramatically. Think about it. Why trek to a specific, maybe expensive location and pay a premium when local competitors offer decent coffee delivered to your door in 15 minutes, hyper convenience, digital ordering? That's the game now.
So the need for that physical waiting room experience is just less compelling?
Especially when you factor in changing work patterns, delivery apps dominating everything. People are making more rational choices, often digital first. The old model feels a bit cumbersome.
And the numbers really back this up. The core problem, plummeting market share. You said they peaked? When was that?
Back in 2017, they had a huge 42% share of the market, really dominant.
And now?
By 2024, that had cratered to just 14%. 14%.
Ouch. That's a steep drop.
And the reason is just the sheer speed and scale of the local competition. Starbucks has about 8,000 stores in China now. Sounds like a lot, right?
Yeah, objectively, 8,000 is a big number.
But compare that. Luckin Coffee, the big local player, recently reported hitting 26,206 stores.
Wait, 26,000?
Yep. As of Q2 2025, they've basically built the entire Starbucks global network twice, just within China, in just a few years.
That's not just growth, that's industrial level rollout. It's staggering.
It really is. And it's not just Luckin. Another one, Coty, they passed 15,000 stores back in September 2024, and they're profitable. The simple truth is the traditional Western pace of expansion just can't keep up. It's too slow, too deliberate for this market.
Which explains the need for drastic action. So the goal with Boyu Capital is basically speed and scale.
Absolutely. They need to accelerate expansion like crazy to even stay in the game. They've set this target almost unbelievable of reaching 20,000 stores.
20,000. That's more than double their current footprint.
And a big part of that push is going into those lower tier cities, the emerging regions where the next wave of growth is supposed to come from.
Okay, which leads us nicely into part two. Before this big deal, Starbucks wasn't just sitting still, right? They tried to fix things internally, this self-rescue you mentioned. What did that actually involve? And I guess why wasn't it enough on its own?
Right. The sources detail this period of intense internal adjustment. They tackled it on two main fronts, product and concept. On the product side, they got smarter about broadening their appeal. They launched non-sugar drinks to tap into that health trend, which is huge in China. And they expanded their non-coffee menu, importantly, pricing some of those items around the 20 yuan mark. That's a clear attempt to pull in younger, maybe more price-conscious customers without having to slash their core coffee prices.
That makes sense. Diversify without damaging the premium image of the coffee itself.
Exactly. And then on the concept side, they really tried to make that third space relevant again. They started experimenting with store formats beyond just the standard coffee shop look, creating what they call interest social spaces, like rooms specifically designed to be pet-friendly or lounges for cyclists, even dedicated quiet study areas, often with designs meant to look good on local social media.
Trying to add unique value beyond just the coffee. Make it a destination again for different reasons.
Precisely. They couldn't just rely on the old Western coffee shop vibe anymore. They needed to connect with modern Chinese lifestyles.
And the interesting thing is, the data suggests this self-rescue is actually working to some extent.
Yeah, that's the twist. Recent financials showed 4 straight quarters of growth in China. And importantly, growth in both same-store sales and the number of transactions.
Plus, they kept their operating profit margins in the double digits, which means they were growing without resorting to those crazy 9.9 yuan coffee price wars that Luckin sometimes uses.
Right. That would have killed their premium positioning instantly. So they managed to stabilize and grow profitably.
Which makes the timing of the Boyu deal even more fascinating. If things were improving, why sell a 60% controlling stake? Why not just keep going with the slower, controlled turnaround?
That's the crux of it. The self-rescue proved the brand still had pulling power, the people would still pay a premium, but it didn't solve the fundamental scale problem.
They just couldn't grow fast enough on their own to counter Luckin's sheer speed.
Exactly. To hit that 20,000 store target, especially in the time frame needed to really compete, they needed capabilities they just didn't have internally or couldn't build fast enough. Industrial scale acceleration.
Enter Boyu Capital.
Enter Boyu. And we need to understand who Boyu is. They aren't just a bankroller.
No, their portfolio is really telling.
Absolutely. They are a very sophisticated player, both financially and strategically. They manage billions. They have stakes in things like the super high-end Beijing SKP mall that gives them prime real estate insight. They're in logistics giants. And maybe most revealingly, they were investors in Mizu Bingcheng, Snow King, which is the company behind Luckin Coffee.
Okay, so they know the scaling playbook for coffee, or at least for mass-market beverages in China from the inside.
Pretty much. They understand Chinese retail scale, which, as we've said, operates on totally different principles than in the West.
So why Boyu specifically? It sounds like it's about the supply chain know-how and, crucially, that real estate access.
That's it. That's the ammunition Starbucks needs for this aggressive push into smaller cities. Starbucks' old advantage being the desirable anchor tenant that could command good locations and low rents that's weakening as their brand halo dims a bit. Boyu brings the connections and the expertise to win the property game in these newer markets. It's about navigating local complexities.
But this partnership throws up a massive challenge, doesn't it? A real dilemma. Can Starbucks actually maintain its premium brand image, that whole third space value, while exploding to 20,000 stores? Especially in smaller cities where people might be much more sensitive to price.
It's the ultimate tightrope walk. Can you be both premium and ubiquitous? And this is where the private equity ownership adds another layer of, well, risk.
Because their primary goal is profit maximization, right?
Always. While Starbucks technically controls the brand IP, there will inevitably be immense pressure from Boyu to maximize returns, cut costs. Could that push them towards franchising down the line? It's the fastest way to scale, but historically, for premium coffee, it's also been the fastest way to dilute the brand experience and quality control.
If there's a Starbucks on every corner, even in a third-tier city, does it still feel special? Can they maintain quality if it's franchised? These are huge questions for that 20,000 store ambition.
They're existential questions, really. They're essentially betting they can replicate this high-margin premium myth, the third space, in markets that might be perfectly happy with the 9.9 yuan reality offered by competitors.
It's like fighting a war on two fronts.
Yeah.
Scale against Luckin, relevance against changing consumer habits.
That's a good way to put it. And the only way to win both is through incredible operational efficiency and offering something truly unique that people will still pay extra for, even when cheaper options are everywhere.
And as you mentioned, Starbucks isn't the first Western giant to face this. This move towards needing powerful local partners selling off equity for operational muscle. It's a path others have already taken. The foreign monk era is truly over.
Yeah, let's look at that historical playbook. McDonald's is a prime example. They sold a big chunk of their China business back in 2017 for over $2 billion. And what happened after? Massive expansion unlocked by that local partnership. They hit 6,820 restaurants by late 2024, and their plan was to open another 1,000 in 2025 alone.
1,000 new stores in 1 year. Wow. And Yum China, KFC's parent.
Similar story. They took a $460 million investment from Ant Financial and Primavera Capital again, bringing local financial and, crucially, digital expertise on board post-deal. Huge growth. They reached over 16,000 restaurants across more than 2,200 cities by late 2024. Selling equity was the price they paid for that kind of scale.
So McDonald's and KFC adapted early, found partners, and scaled massively. Who's struggling with this transition?
Well, the sources point to Burger King as a cautionary tale. They actually entered China fairly early, back in 2005, but they stuck with the direct operation model for too long. Result, only 68 stores in their first 7 years. Very slow.
They did switch to franchising later, didn't they?
They did, but even then, by late 2024, they only had about 1,474 stores. Compare that to KFC's 11,000 plus or McDonald's nearly 7,000. They're lagging way behind.
And the painful stat for them.
Yeah, it's brutal. China is one of Burger King's top 10 markets globally in terms of number of stores, but it ranks dead last among those top 10 for average annual sales per store.
High density, low performance. That's not a winning formula.
Not at all. It highlights the risk of scaling too quickly or with the wrong model, maybe compromising the unit economics.
But wait. Comparing Burger King's franchise model to Starbucks' 10 plan is tricky, isn't it? Burger King franchised aggressively, which helped store numbers, but seems to have hurt performance. Starbucks is trying to hit 20,000 stores without franchising, keeping it all company-owned. Is that even possible at the speed they need? Isn't that inherently slower, even with Boyu?
That is the core tension, the big bet. Starbucks and Boyu seem to believe that Boyu's expertise in real estate, supply chain, local operations, that this can unlock such massive efficiencies that they can achieve franchise-like speed and scale, but within a corporate-owned structure. Maintaining full control over brand and experience. It's incredibly ambitious. It requires operational excellence on a scale we haven't really seen before in this context.
So the partnership model itself has evolved. It's not just about getting cash anymore.
Exactly. The sources call it moving from Partnership 1.0, which was just about capital, to Partnership 2.0, value co-creation.
Okay, what does value co-creation actually mean on the ground for Starbucks and Boyu?
It means Boyu isn't just writing checks. They're bringing tangible strategic advantages. Deep local knowledge, yes, but also practical things like digital optimization skills, supply chain mastery, and crucially, that real estate network. For Starbucks, value co-creation looks like Boyu, helping them navigate the super complex property market in lower-tier cities almost instantly. Getting the right spots, maybe at better costs, building out the stores faster. It's like Boyu provides the high-speed local execution engine that Starbucks plugs its global brand and operational standards into.
Suddenly, that $4 billion transaction for 60% makes perfect sense. It's the entry fee for that engine.
It feels like an absolute necessity, yeah. Not really an option if they wanted to seriously compete at scale. And it underlines the new reality. Success for global brands in China now absolutely depends on finding partners who are not just rich, but strategically brilliant and operationally ruthless in the specific ways the Chinese market demands.
Okay, let's try and wrap this up. The key takeaway from this deep dive seems to be Starbucks made some smart tactical moves with their self-rescue, which gave them a stronger hand to play. They've partnered with a very capable, very connected local player in Boyu Capital. But the massive strategic hurdle, the real Everest they have to climb, is translating that premium third space concept, which worked so well in major cities for decades, into potentially thousands of new stores in smaller, maybe more pragmatic, price-sensitive markets, all while aiming for 20,000 locations without, ideally, sacrificing that premium feel.
That's the tightrope. That's the multi-billion-dollar question that will define the next few years for them and maybe for many other global consumer brands in China. So the final thought for you, the listener, to chew on. Given how fast Luckin scaled and how much Burger King seems to have struggled even with franchising, what does that necessary capability for a partner really entail today? If the price wars get even tougher, what other core assumptions, maybe beyond just avoiding franchising, do foreign brands like Starbucks need to shed to hit goals like 20,000 stores while still trying to justify that premium price tag? What a chick he has to give.
A really challenging question indeed. A perfect place to leave it for today's deep dive on Starbucks' big move in China. Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you next time.